Turn on your microphone, sir. And
yes,
perhaps maybe you should leave it on.
I'm very new for this discipline.
Yes, leave it on. It's all right. And
the outcome was the Progressive People Party, that was headed by David Jawara, won 17 seats. The United Party was headed by P.S. Njai, who won 13 seats. Before the convening of Parliament, the late Honorable A.B. Njai, veteran politician and elder statesman, had won for Democratic Congress Alliance one Banjul seat known as the Banjul Central. A couple of months, barely before the opening of Parliament, he crossed over, resigned from the alliance and crossed over to PPP, which took their number to 18 against 13. In those days, the chiefs had their own electoral college. They were 25 in number, and they used to elect 8. That was introduced by the chief minister at the time. Now, there was a bit of wrangling. The chiefs, at the beginning, through their allegiance to the United Party, we have given them 21. But I will not want to give an opinion on my next statements. Politics is of some interesting nature sometimes. After a while, after a couple of days, the chiefs whose head leader, paramount chief, was the late Alhaji Omar Mbake, and was also spokesman for the chiefs, was invited after both David Jawara and P.S. Njai had gone to the governor and each claimed that he had majority. Omar was disappeared for a couple of days, about 3-4 days, and when he came, the governor invited him. He threw the way to the chiefs on the side of David Jawara. So David Jawara was asked to form a government, and he was appointed premier.
by premier, you mean prime minister?
Premier is the next stage in, I think, the British political evolution or constitution or whatever. You have a premier, chief minister, premier, and then prime minister.
Thank you very much for that clarification. It's an important one for students of constitutional history in the Gambia. Thank you very much. What did the election mean for you, for your career? Did you win your seat?
Sometimes my hearing can be very funny. Can you
yes, I will speak up louder, sir. Did you win your seat in Tumana? Did you win the election in which you contested?
Yes, I had said so. I won and I was in parliament.
And you...
At that time, the United Party had some very serious ups and downs. Late Idi Njai was made leader of the opposition in parliament because the late P.S. Njai had some rough relationship with the then governor and the then premier. After several attempts were made to collate, and in the end, late P.S. Njai became very negative and towards parliament, and as a result, his seat was he was expelled, more sort of, and Idi became leader. And around the time also, Idi, when Idi was leader in parliament, I was deputy leader. Unfortunately, Idi died in an accident shortly, and the leadership in parliament became vacant. Efforts were made by the then National Executive of the United Party, meetings held at the Odeon Cinema, to appoint me as leader of the party. I declined. The pressure was too much. I was young, absolutely and totally unprepared for that mammoth task, especially having J.C. Faye, late J.C. Faye, Jahumpa, and others as party leaders on the opposite side. I did not consider myself at the time being suitable or able to lead the opposition in parliament. That together with parental advice, I went over to the PVP.
But before all this happened in 1970 and 1971, the Gambia had changed at this period. We had become independent. Can you tell us what role, if any, you played in securing Gambia's independence?
Well, in 1964, after much agitation and discussions, there was a wind of change, as late Prime Minister Macmillan coined, had blown over all Africa. And we were invited to Marlborough House after several meetings and discussions, debates and what have you in the country. We were invited and we went to Marlborough House in London and discussed with the British government the question of independence. Now, United Party, I was a delegate on the United Party side. PVP had their own delegation. Because of this, and these were based on the strength of the parties in parliament. Because the Democratic and Congress parties were small parties, together they had won one seat in the general election. And that seat by Ebinyai went over to PVP. They hatched a coalition with the PVP, which I think was very clever, because in those two parties we had extremely well-talented politically on politics. And when they hatched out that coalition, the PVP leadership allowed them 2 members, and they selected the late I.M. Jahumpa and the late J.C. Faye. Also at that conference.
By late J.C. Faye, you're referring to the late Reverend J.C. Faye, correct?
It's correct, Reverend J.C. Faye. He was like a father to me, and who were very nice. He spent most of his time at Krisikunda. He opened Krisikunda, a correction center, also a school. Now, I remember Emi Jallo was nominated from federal delegation. Were leading trade unions to represent the workers. Also was Mrs. Palmer as an independent member. The late Aman Bake, head chief, was also there. So that was the composition, and we went to Marlborough House and discussed. There was, I must say here, that there was not very many differences between the two sides of the spectrum. We all wanted independence, and we wanted it immediately. Although she had no say whatsoever in the running of the country. But as I say, independence was new. Some dynamic leaders like Nkrumah and others felt that it has to be absolute, that they have nothing to do. which on hindsight people know did not carry much merit. So that was our stance. The Progressive People Party wanted a Republican style of government, where a president is elected. At that time, a question of membership to the Commonwealth was not on. You go by yourself. Now, we argued it there, I think, for a day or two. And later, the British Commonwealth, Foreign and Commonwealth Secretary, Duncan Sands at the time, because when we retire, all sides meet. For them, they had only one, the government, Colonial Master. But for us, we had two parties, and Emi Jallo constituted was a very formidable trade unionist, very intelligent man. So after we retired, we came and we did not change our positions. Now the British government came with a suggestion, compromise suggestion, that they will grant us independence. Sorry, I should have said, apart from this type of independence, the composition of Parliament and the executive was also discussed, because the Progressive People's Party wanted a separate House of Chiefs modeled on the House of Commons, House of Lords. We did not want that. And there was another minor, not quite minor, but difference. So, but for this one, it was very important. So the British government took that first. Said, okay, now we are suggesting, since you will not budge either party, these people don't want a House of Chiefs. They want the 8 members currently in Parliament to remain as members of the Chiefs. This thing. You, the PPP, wanted a separate House of Chiefs. Then I think it was Duncan Sands who said, well, look, Gambia is a small country. The total number of chiefs you have is 25. How can you create a House of Chiefs even for just 25 members when Parliament is 32? And question of expenses and all connected infrastructure came in. So we had a break, we had several breaks in fact, and the last one, they came with a compromise that we will have the chiefs and maintain one parliament. We agreed. And then they said, okay, our reasons for not wanting a Republican style government was plain. I have said it elsewhere in interviews, both here and outside. Of the veteran politicians we had at the time, only Jawara, David, was not tested. That's a fact. He had come from studies, veterinary surgeon, head of the veterinary, resigned, went into politics, 1960. In 1964, we were talking about independence. And what I'm saying here is not my own invention. In Banjul at the time, before Jawara came back, those who were here, 60 and above, I think we remember at the beginning of things, politics was a bit rough. The Sonkunda case, Garba case, Gunjur here, and many other places. People were locked up, mostly members of the PPP. And I am not saying this to run down anybody. History should be said as it happened. Should not be doctored for any reason. People in Banjul in those days and many of them would be alive by now. People, when they came to Grand Street with their asikos, they used to go around, some used to go around, not everybody, and they were pinpointing buildings and properties and saying, when we get independence, we are going to take this and that. There were a few story buildings in Banjul then. These are facts. So, if you put all this cauldron, the suspicion will boil over. So, the reason for us, PPP, United Party, wanting a monarchical government was that there will be a referee or umpire. Because in the Commonwealth, the Queen is the head, no power, no authority. But she retains privately or publicly residual authority in many forms. So that it was the view of the United Party that whoever, it was JC5, Jahumpa, or PS, these people have been in politics for over 10 years. The wrangling of people have developed understanding of their parameters of their nature, character-wise. So that was the reason. And that was the reason why when Jawara, after independence, attempted a true referendum to change the constitution, it failed. It did not fail because Gambians did not want a Republican government. By the second attempt, members of the United Party voted for it, some, and it massively went through. Because by then, the Gambian public had a better idea of David Jawara's temperament and the way of the style of his leadership. So, after elections, he is already there. There's nothing you can do about it. Why worry about retaining monarchical system where you have a duplicity of authority? So, the second referendum succeeded, and Gambia was declared a republic.
That would have been in which year, sir? 1970 referendum, you said. And did your alliance or your allegiance in politics change at around that period? Did your political allegiances change during that period? Microphone, sir.
That is correct, yes.
Can you explain that change and how it came about? Microphone, sir. Yeah, you can leave your microphone on.
Yeah, I have alluded to this question earlier, that where Idi Jai was an excellent politician who was hailed, acclaimed by the entire society. He was very popular, he was not controversial, condescending, very, very nice gentleman. And to a great extent, PS had some major problems. His family know that, the people close to him know that. So with Idi around, everybody, late Numukunda Dabo and myself, who was a very powerful member of parliament, were wooed. When Jawara is alive, we had several dinners at #1 Marina, but we maintained our stand. Because Idi was such a person that he developed some chemistry with the leadership, especially parliamentarians of the party, to an extent that the comradeship was very difficult to break. And we were very happy, all of us. But when he died, this is where the problem came. I've said it. There was a big vacuum of capable leadership to run the United Party at that juncture. And picking on me as a young man with no experience whatsoever, no major formal training whatsoever, to head the political party after independence in Africa, suicidal. No.
You were very humble at the time. considering the decision you had taken. But you participated already in negotiating Gambia's independence. You went into politics in 1961. By 1970, you were definitely already a veteran. You already had 9 to 10 years experience and also have this important feather on your cap, having participated in the negotiation of our independence. At this stage, you were not a political novice, but I recognize the humility with which you approach that issue. So you joined the PPP as a result, correct?
Thank you very much, but one swallow does not make a summer. It's not my own saying. That was to explain my situation better. You referred to one component of a whole set of paras of issues. That one is okay. I was well known in the country, very well known. No politician was better known at that time because I was young and stubborn and active. I left my little marks everywhere. But that is just one aspect of leadership relative in the context of this country. I did not have a penny. And in those days, political corruption, if I can refer to it as that, was different. In those days, it was the big people with money who donated to parties and contributions, and women especially. Women contributed. It doesn't matter whether you have a lot of gold or not, they contributed massively. But the public, the population, especially in the provinces, they give you money to buy petrol because you are using bicycles, and we hire trucks or kit cars. But they give you fuel, they give you a bull, they give you, all of us, you have had about 50, 80 bulls by the time, that generation faded away. So that the voters, majority of Gambian voters, were supporting their MPs because they didn't have anything, nothing. In Banjul, there was an element of Njigi Guru and what have you, because better financially. So that really, not only for me, but even if I had a ton of degrees, university, acclaimed universities, I could not, and I would not have access to leadership. Even if I had 30 years experience with my financial situation at that time, would have been suicidal. I cannot. And nobody in my stead would have done it. So this is my answer, if it satisfies.
Thank you very much, sir. Yeah. Then you joined the PPP in 1970, is that right?
Yes, around that time.
And did you hold any positions within the PPP party?
Yes, on joining the PPP, President made me a member of all the important arms of the party, namely the Congress, the National Executive, Parliamentary Executive, and the Politburo, at the time known as Secretariat, which comprised of the President and 4 assistant secretaries. I was one of them.
How about positions in government?
Positions in government, I held several portfolios. The first was information, tourism, and broadcasting, followed by education, youth, sports, and culture. Education was education and welfare up to my becoming minister. And when I became minister, maybe my age or President must have observed some characteristics. He carried out a minor reshuffle, not changing personalities or people, but he changed the nomenclature of the ministry. Instead of Ministry of Education and Social Welfare, which then was manned by Mr. Yunsin, assisted by a young man. He was responsible for youth, sports, culture, and the lot. With that minor reshuffle, President introduced Minister of Education, Youth, Sports, and Culture. And And the second year or so, we organized for the first time the Youth Week, which was very popular. It was to galvanize the youth and get them ready for future undertakings, because they were just all about, not organized. And also the sports aspect. A youth officer was appointed in the passing of Ibu Mbenga, late Ibu Mbenga. Sports, Cherno Ture, who during the junta was ambassador, was made sports officer. He was a PE expert. Culture, Alaji Mbai Chow, who with Seri Seka and others during independence were really doing very, very well for culture. In fact, they had relationship with Senegal, and they were having these national troops and ballets and what have you. So Mbai Chow was elected cultural officer. Late Omar Sy, at one time foreign minister, was also had done much in sports and related matters, was appointed director under the minister. And during that time, cultural festival, Youth Week, sports council were formed for the first time in this country. As a result, I remained in that ministry for 5 years, the longest you can have a whole term.
And where did you move to after 5 years at the Ministry of Education, Youth, Sports and Culture?
I went to Economic Planning and Industrial Development. Was newly created.
That was up to 1977.
That was for a year.
Yes, in 1977. And what happened after that?
I was appointed Minister of Finance and Trade.
That was in which year?
I think it was end of 77 up to 81, just 2 months before Kukoi.
And did you hold any other cabinet position in government after that?
Minister of Works and Communications was my last.
Which year was that?
I know it ended in 1990.
That's right. It would have started in 1987. Is that right?
Yes, yes.
Now, you know that you tell us how you came to know about that event.
Well, one morning, early 22nd July, must be about 4 a.m. or 4:30, one of my relations and friend, late Alaji Usainu Njai, who was the eldest son of an eminent personality in this country, Alaji Musa Njai. He rang me, woke me up, and told me, you better stand by, get ready, and organize yourself. The soldiers have mutinied, and they have killed Kikala Balde. Kikala Balde was a senior army officer in charge of the armory, and he hails from Basse.
Mr. Cham, excuse me, sir, but that event would be 1981, wouldn't it?
No, sorry.
The killing of Kikala Balde.
No, sorry, you are right. I'm getting it mixed up. It's 24 years now or more. No. This last soldier coup,
1994.
I got to know about it. My first wife, I was having some building works at Fajara, opposite the station. And my first wife told me, take me to Serekunda market and drop me there because it's cheaper. This cooking stuff cheaper, vegetables and what have you. I took her with 2 of the workmen, and the outhouses they were constructing, the roof at that time, one of them housed the sing artists for a period. So we came to the market. I stopped by off the road on the side of the police station. And then suddenly, before she came, I saw people running helter-skelter. And she came running also, went in, and the two carpenters were in there. There was big confusion at the Serekunda market. Then everybody said, MC, I said, no, before I go, I must know what am I running away from, and from what area, from what side it is coming, so that I can avoid it, if possible. So I stood there until everybody had disappeared. Then somebody came on a bicycle. I stopped him. She said, "Look, Defi, what are you doing here?" I told him, "Look, what is happening?" She said, "Along the Banjul highway, the soldiers are stopping cars, beating up drivers, taking the keys and throwing them away." I say, along the road. I say, Mangi, he told me, we crossed at Churchill Town. I told my wife, let's go to Pipeline, my residence opposite where mom to one of my wives, who is here, lives, opposite Caravan Station. I said, let's go there until we know, until the dust settles. We drove there. That time, Banjul did not know what happened, because when I rang, Usainu and Tafango, nothing, it was normal. About 30, 40 minutes, or nearly an hour later, they rang me to say that there is a coup going on. We stayed there for 3 days because there was a curfew. I stayed there with my first wife for 3 days. When the curfew was lifted, we went back to Banjul. And of course, during the announcements, I knew that Edward was among the leaders.
Edward who, sir?
Edward Singate.
Did you know him before?
Yes, I know him. I know his father, Saiba, converted to Catholicism while we were in school in Basel and had the name of Gabriel. We were in Basel school together. We came to Banjul, St. Augustine's together. At around Form 3 or so, he left and joined the medical, because in those days, the departments were hungry for young, educated, or young schooled young men. They visit schools and invite people, not necessarily waiting for you to complete. And he was among the batch who went to the hospital known as Royal Victoria Hospital, and was a dresser dispenser. After a while, he stowed away, you people will not know it, but that used to be the idea. That is, these vessels coming to pick up groundnuts.
Was the first backway.
No, not backway, the stowaway.
Yes, that was the first
backway is a later invention. So, unfortunate. Now, he stowed away and went to England and joined the RAF medical unit, because we follow up our progress, birds of the same feather. I know that he met his wife, who was also a nurse, an Irish girl, in the RAF, and they got married, who is Edward's mother. Now, I think it must be in the 80s or late 80s or 90s. He came to my house. Of course, before that, I used to see him now and again. He comes to my store. I see him almost weekly when he comes to Banjul, and we chat. But this evening, he came to my house. My wife was there, and one of my friends died after. He came and told me, I understand you own these outhouses. One was occupied by a white man who was some technical knowledge. He used to make doors and windows and what have you. And the other one was vacant. I said, yes. He said, I want you to give it to me. I have nowhere to stay. They have removed the roof. He was staying in a house near Teresa's. He said they have removed the roof. They have started removing the roof.
Owned that house near Teresa's?
I think it was owned by the late Alhaji Modu Musanjai.
That would be Mr. Hussein Njai's father, correct?
Correct, his father. He was there as a tenant for some time, but he never paid. And the old man wanted...
He never paid what?
Rent.
Thank you.
Now the old man, I think, wanted to dispose of the place or wanted to build it. And asked him to leave for months. He was there. And according to him, he told me all this. According to him, one morning a carpenter came and started removing. He asked the man to stop, I think, but they removed some few corrugated sheets and said they were directed and they will go ahead. That was the time he went out looking for me. He found me at Pipeline and he told me about this problem. I told him, well, that house is ready. 1, it's not painted. 2, it has no running water. 3, no electricity. He said, MC, I'm telling you, I have no roof over my head. You are telling me about facilities. I say, if you want to go in there like that, fine. I went up, brought keys, I gave him. And he moved over there. And I assisted him.
Did he move
Cyber.
there alone?
No, he moved there with his children, his wife and children.
Who were these children you're referring to?
Oh, Edward and Peter, I know, and Dennis.
Can you give me their full names, sir? Full names?
Gabriel Singate is the father. Edward Singate is the eldest son. Peter Singate. Dennis also Singate. They moved. And I assisted him. He paid for the meters, water and electricity, but I assisted him. I used my little influence to help him get these facilities quickly. And he was staying there with them. And I think they joined the army there while they were there. They were very nice people, as far as I was concerned at the time. When my wife went to the market and they around, when she comes off the vehicle, there is a distance to get into the compound. The road is about maybe 50 meters or more. Now, there have been many instances when they will pick up her bag and help her in. They were very nice to my family there. Now, one day, I came to the house, and my wife showed me a white shirt, fully covered with blood. It was looked very bad. I told him, what is it? What are you showing? He said, this was brought by Edward Singate last evening, but you were not here. I said, why? He said, Dr. Baba Njai, Modu Musa's son, is the one who just beat the hell out of him, was bleeding from the nose and from the mouth. And he had gone to the police opposite, but he asked them to hold on. He was going to see the elder of both of them. I asked my wife to call him. We went over, called him.
You mentioned Dr. Baba Njai,
yes,
son of Modu Musa Njai.
Yes.
So far you've mentioned 2 children of Modu Musa Njai. You're referring to the same Modu Musa Njai, father of Hussein Njai and father of Dr. Baba Njai, correct?
That is correct.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Then I told him, I said, but what brought the fracas? What brought the trouble? He told me, well, I scaled over the wall, which into the street. You have Baba Njai exactly, Dr. Baba exactly opposite. He scaled the wall, and Baba saw him and stopped him and said, don't you know that this property belongs to my brother? Where are you from? He said, he told Baba that I live in this house. Gabriel Singate is my father. We are living here in this outhouse. Baba said, yes, but you should never scale because I thought you to be a thief or a bad person. Go around. This is not safe. If anything, if people see you frequenting this, someday it may be a real thief and nobody will bother. He told me that. Then I asked him to go and withdraw the case. I will get Baba and I will apologize. He left. The next day I called Baba, and Baba gave me the full story. Said on the first occasion he let him off. But on the second occasion, he argued with him and he said he was a bit nasty. Baba is a strong lad. And Baba, did what he did. So I told Baba...
What did Baba do?
Baba knocked him, of course. Baba agreed that he was responsible, that shirt, maybe the shirt he was wearing. Baba agreed. But he said because he was very nasty, and it was on a second occasion. I said, Baba, but you should have told me after he told you first occasion that he was staying. He said, no, I don't have to tell you when somebody violates your property in my presence. Fine. Now, I called Edward, and we apologized, and he did not do anything. We drew the case because Baba was not called to the station. Nothing happened.
At this stage, was Edward already in the army? Or?
Yes, he was in the army. He was just he was there.
Okay. When you heard this announcement that there was a coup d'etat, and you spent a few days at your home in Fajara, the curfew was lifted. At this stage, did you come to know that Edward was part of the coup leaders?
Yes, because he came when the curfew was lifted. See, I alternate between my wives, which is traditional. He came to the house. While I was not there, and spoke to my wife. He said, "Where is Uncle?" He said, "He's not here today." He said, "Well, I just came to tell him about the military takeover. We are responsible, but tell him I will be coming back when I will explain everything to him. Right now, I also, on behalf of my family, I want to give him, to inform him and to thank him for the hospitality of accommodating my family. We are moving to Daddy Job's house." I said, "Daddy Job, which Daddy Job?" He said, "Near the Pipeline Mosque." He said, "This is where the Nigerian commander used to be. He's living, and I am moving there with the family." When I came, Mom told me. But somehow, maybe it was never to happen. I have not seen him. Maybe he came back, I was not there, because I am only there in the evenings, and in the mornings I go back and do my own avocation, Yes. So I never saw him until my detention.
Were they paying rent while they were at your house?
No. Because his grandmother, was married to my father. And Momoko Tenja.
So they were living in your house gratis for all this period?
Oh yes, I will not charge them because Gabriel is regarded as a brother through marriage. And we grew up as children too in the same place, Base, Banjul, Banjul. No.
And at this time of the coup d'etat, what happened to Gabriel?
Gabriel died before the coup d'etat. He died shortly before the coup d'etat. He was admitted at Westfield. And I was leading in the funeral arrangements because his uncle, Sheni Singate, who was my parliamentary secretary in 1977, and my younger one, they are one father, is the nearest relative to him. So Sheni informed me, and we did everything. And as our tradition provides or requires, when an elderly person is present, whether by marriage, by blood, by kith and kin, or by just being together for a long time, you are given the leadership role. And I was responsible. And we buried him at this Igbo town thing. It was a very wet day, and this pit was smaller than this thing. what do you call it, coffin. So the first attempt to lower the coffin, it collapsed. The whole thing was done all over again because the cement blocks were wet. So everything was, we were there for nearly 2 hours or more.
Thank you. I think this is a convenient time to stop for our first break. Mr. Chairman, over to you if any members of the Commission have a few questions to ask. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Council. And thank you so much, Uncle MC. It's good to see you. I haven't seen you for years. I wasn't sure what I would see when you walk in. And you're still looking elegant and really sharp mind. Marlborough House conference, recalling events from there to somebody not paying rent. I mean, that's extraordinary mind that you have. But it's good to have you here.
Thank you.
Is there any member who would have any question to ask? Yes, Commissioner Carr.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a question. You got into politics when you were very young. I'd like to know what was youth involvement in politics at that time, like youth and women involvement in politics.
Can you say that again?
You got into politics at a young age. Are you getting? He's not hearing you. Oh.
Yes, I got in.
Yes, I just want to know what was it? What was youth involvement in politics like at that time?
Youth involvement
in politics.
In politics, it was comme ci comme ça, because in any meaningful avocation or meaningful participation, there must be a motivating force. And that was the dawn of politics, and the motivation was very low. What motivation there was at the time was to support people to go through parliament and to try and bring good to the country, change bad laws, provide better standards, and so on and so forth. So, as I have said earlier, the actual mobilization in the recognized progressive form as it is or should be was started by my own humble self as Minister of Youth, Sports, and Culture, including education. So it was just comme ci comme ça. I would not say it was not there, but it was not organized, nor was there any direction.
Thank you. If there are no further questions, we would take a 30-minute break and come back at 12 noon. Uncle, thank you so much. Meeting is adjourned.
Vehicles, you are giving it to parliamentarians. Where is the source? The parliamentarians themselves should challenge that.
Wait, APRC and GBC, no opposition. Fine. All other parties, that doesn't concern you people, either UDP or NRP or PPP, they are all in the government.
Ay fan si gannaaw wala sax semaine si gannaaw coow bi bëri woon na trop si dëkk bi.
Man dama against ID card mu nekk $450. Man mosuma si ànd te du mosuma sa ànda.
yow xaalis boobu nu mu fa ñëwee loolu nga war a njëkk a laajte because social security institution doo xam ne social security warut a ñàkk a xaalis yëfi profit social security loolu waxtaani banda la loolu dafa war a automatique.
Barrow lu ma ko ñaan mooy na wàcce 3 years am su demee 5 years dafa am problème leadership bu mu fi bàyyi dafa bon right now amul direction bu correct réew mi ñëpp seen am nañ disappointé si nguuri Barrow.
benn nit mënut a jagal réew da ngaa def li nga war a def bàyyi keneen ñu continuer
Fear over electoral rigging rocks Zimbabwe as the country.
Yesterday, after listening to Prime Minister May's assessment of the state of the negotiations,